Out. There he goes.
What's up, everybody? I'm Adam Johnson, and this is Cover Band Confidential. We've been talking about the Neural Quad Cortex for over a year now, and it finally got to the point where we had to have some tough conversations to figure out what this product is even supposed to represent in the marketplace. Hopefully everybody at Neural DSP takes this with a grain of salt and the product finally comes out so we can actually see what it can do. Just want to remind you, if you're enjoying our content, to go ahead and like and subscribe. We've got a podcast with over 130 episodes, all designed to help you rock more and suck less. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. And guys, I just want to throw out a hot take about something that hasn't quite come out yet. If you have been keeping tabs with us at all over the past, well, at this point, calendar year,
That's right.
We've been talking about the Neural Quad Cortex since it was announced. And why is that, Dan?
Because I have $200 down on a pre-order of it.
And you pre-ordered it when?
The day it was announced.
So that money has been sitting in Neural's coffers for
A calendar
over a
year.
now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it was January 12th, actually. And they announced, when they announced it, they said it'd be coming in the fall. And they've kept us posted about the delays. It's not like it's a surprise that it's delayed. And anyone who's hung out waiting for a first gen of any kind of hardware, no, that fall wasn't going to happen.
This is how I feel about it. What if the Neural Quad Cortex is the Chinese democracy of amp modelers?
Out. There he goes. And you're talking, of course, about the Guns N' Roses album, Chinese Democracy.
Yes.
And so just complete that analogy for us, will you?
All right, so if you don't understand that reference, here's what I'm referring to. After Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 were released, to much acclaim and fanfare, Guns N' Roses announced that their next album was going to be called Chinese Democracy. Then the band broke up, and then the band went silent, and then the band reunited, and then the band started playing gigs, and the record never came out, and they talked about it, and it was hyped and hyped and hyped. And I don't know the exact time frame. I think the number is like 17 years.
Something.
And then by the time it came out, I know it happened around like
I heard
2007, 2008.
I heard it.
But the issue was so much time had passed and so much hype had been put behind it. I don't know how many guitar players, how many drummers, how many bass players were supposed to be on this record. Like, it just never came out. And so it didn't matter how good it was. It didn't matter all the effort that put into it. There's no way that it could possibly live up to the hype. So that's why I'm saying that after announcing it a year ago at NAMM, after delay, after nothing coming really out except for like some preliminary stuff and some kind of limited samples, like, can this unit live up to the hype that has been put behind it?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes, I am. I'm asking anybody who's willing to answer that question. Please, Dan, please indulge me.
Well, I'll give you my view of it. So first of all, as I said, anybody who has backed hardware projects or followed development cycles toward a hardware release, this kind of delay is not at all uncommon. There are people freaking out who were not prepared for that. Oh my God, you've had my $200 for a year. They haven't. They spent it a long time ago. But why I went in on that was because of the terms of it, which were pay $200 to get on the pre-order list. It is fully refundable. When we come to charge you the full amount, we'll let you know that that's about to happen, and you can either come and pay for it or we will refund you. Parking $200 there to have the privilege of being in line, I was willing to do that, and I have the privilege of having that not be a financial problem for me. So I got more patience maybe than your average cat about this. So two other things about it. One, it's just another modeler. All right. So It has a ton more CPU power and DSP power than anything else on the market, but that really doesn't mean a lot in terms of what it sounds like, but especially live. I mean, I have no doubt dialing in a great sound on it will be entirely possible, just like it's entirely possible on a Helix, just like it's entirely possible on an XFX. And they're all doing within 20% of the same stuff.
Sure.
I do think there is an upside, a kind of an unexplored something becomes available when it's got the kind of just sheer silicon grunt that this thing has. But whatever hype it is, the expectation really should have only ever been like, does it do as well as a modeler does? And the answer appears to be yes. So was the delay unreasonable? I don't think so. Is the hype, is it going to live up to the hype? Well, I don't know. I think people are talking about the hype as being bigger than it's really been. The third thing is time is ending under which people are still under NDA about it, and they're able to be able to put out their demo videos, real professionals who are checking it out and demoing it and stuff. The demos are sounding great, like great. And you know, the concern about Neural DSP, of course, is that they've been a very metal-focused organization in terms of their plugins and stuff. So how they do with the cleans, how is it with like the edge of breakup bluesy stuff that I do? The samples that are coming out of that are fantastic. There was a video that was put out by Andertons earlier this week where they used the capture function, which is actually a unique use of that hardware. It can not just model the way a Kemper can, but actually do some much deeper stuff to emulate things like amps and pedals and stuff. And they captured a bunch of pedals, and man, it was really, really good. The emulation that got captured and then was coming out of the Quad Cortex. So I'm still excited. I have no concern about it not living up to whatever hype it has received. I know there are people talking like it's a second coming. Neural DSP has been careful not to like their talk about it has been very factual about its, you know, specs and stuff. But I think it's going to be quite a unit. And part of what I like about it, just to call back to the earlier conversation, is that it is a smaller form factor than the Helix by a fair amount. And,
it's about the size of a laptop, I think, as far as like the footprint.
Floor footprint is actually smaller than a MacBook Pro.
Okay.
And it's got some very cool hardware in it. They have a patented foot switch that is also a dial,
like a rotary
encoder. Thank you. That's what I was after. You know, it saves a bunch of space on the face of it, and it's a touchscreen. The UI looks very Helix-ish, but you'll be able to drag it around with your hands and stuff. I think it's still quite promising. You can be sure I will give you my full rundown on it once it gets here.
One of the other things that I had heard was that it doesn't come with all of the neural options that are available right now.
If you have bought plugins, those can be installed on it, but they're not sold together.
Interesting.
It doesn't come bundled with their plugins.
But that's another thing worth considering is that you're spending, it's what, $1,500 retail?
Yeah, $1,599.
And it doesn't include all of the sounds that it could.
True.
Let me just clarify my stance on this. I am being a bit of a devil's advocate. I'm being a bit of a piss taker on this particular topic. But to be perfectly clear, I want Neural to succeed. I want every modeling company to succeed because all it does is push innovation in the market forward.
That's right.
So if Nux comes out with a better modeler, that's good for business.
Yeah.
If Vox does it, if Fender does it, if Line 6 does it, if Fractal does it, I think the problem with at least the online guitar community is that there's so much talk and there's so little substance to the conversation right now.
For sure.
And let's be perfectly honest, we are not contributing to that conversation in any productive way whatsoever.
This conversation doesn't help. Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But it's still worth having because, in my opinion, it needs to be a complete game changer in order for it to be relevant in the market at all. And I don't know if that's fair. I know it's not fair. It's not fair for any company to have that on their shoulders. But based on the amount of hype behind it, it just seems like a lot for a product that, you know...
There certainly is a lot of noise. But now listen, when the Helix was first announced, the Guitar Center, or the...
Gear Page?
Gear Page thread on it was like 1,200 pages long within a week or so of the announcement. It was 6 months out from coming to the market, right?
Whether it does what it says it's going to do or not, at this point, it just needs to come out.
Yeah.
For better or worse, the other issue is that you and I are both in software development. Like, we know what 1.0 looks and feels like.
Yeah.
You know, you can spend all this time tweaking and fixing and tweaking and fixing and tweaking and fixing. But the fact of the matter is that until it hits the market, you're not going to get the level of feedback. You're not going to get the level of attention and development poured into it to make it a better product until it's in the hands of its users.
Yep. Yeah, and
that's
even
really
those,
where Neural needs to figure this out.
Even those influencers who are putting up demos, that's not enough ants walking the anthill. I will say, I did hear that they gave those folks a deadline of Friday, tomorrow, the 29th, to submit patches for inclusion in 1.0. Okay. So what that tells me is they're cutting their Goldmaster build probably early next week and going to go into QA with it next 3 weeks. And then we're looking at probably the middle of February.
I guess we'll see. Guys, thanks again for tuning in. If you're enjoying our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We put out podcast episodes every week and drop new videos on this channel every Friday. Take care, and we will see you next time.